Join us for an enlightening experience where you will gain a deeper understanding of the purpose and essence of opening your eyes. This is your chance to enhance self-awareness and personal growth with a shift in perception that provides a fresh outlook on life. Embrace the journey from consciousness to superconsciousness. Coming live by Baret.
Well, that was a bit of a nervy, shaky.
Oh dear.
This end. I'm holding the tea up.
Oh, just making one. I didn't. We got a poor connection, or is it my end, or is it yours?
Oh, my technical advice. What's happening? Is it we're kind of like on and off, but yeah. Well, we. Off. It's believe me, it's not me playing games. It's just the frequencies in which we're under this operation at the moment. Yeah, it's probably, bro. We had amazing. Just anything like it. It was like when this lightning was pounding over our village, the house was shaking. It was just amazing experience. So I don't know whether, because we're relying on a relatively small dish, because we're out in the sticks here. So it might have slightly altered.
Just heard a bit of what you said. It's breaking up, and let's fingers crossed it balances. The energies balance, and we can actually follow each other. Because I just heard that there was lightning. When was this, Baret? When was the lightning, brother?
It was last night. Katrina, what time was the lightning roughly last night? Was it after midnight? Was it or not? About close to midnight, brother. It was close to midnight. And I'm telling you, it was like the whole room lit up with this light that I've never, ever witnessed in my life. It was, and I wasn't frightened. Normally I am. Right. I'm normally under the table when that happens. I'm like, go on, bring it on. You know,
but you're under the table. Yeah, bring it on.
But where is he?
Oh no, it's stopping. It's stopping.
I'm off again. He's off again.
It's not. It doesn't look great at the moment.
I have one of those connections though. Hearing me okay or not?
No, it's just stopping. I mean, I can't hear you, and then all of a sudden I can hear a little bit. I don't know if you can hear me.
Let me just try a few things. 1 minute, because I've got a lot of tabs open as well. Any tabs open that could interfere, so I'm just hoping it could be as simple as that.
Fingers crossed, brother. Fingers crossed. I'll leave the technical stuff for you.
All right, I've more or less closed everything now, so fingers crossed.
It's just frozen again. Oh dear.
The illusions. Oh, you're gone now. You're back. So shall we start with, let's say, let's just talk about how we feel right now in reference to these energies. I mean, what's going on, brother, with these energies? There seems to be something happening behind the scenes, or maybe not the scenes.
Oh no, there's a lot happening behind the scenes, and there's a lot happening right in front of us. Let's just jump straight in.
Let's dive in.
So we did an activation, and it wasn't. Yeah, it was an activation that was scheduled. So this is sequential activation this weekend, which culminated on Monday, I believe.
Yeah.
And it transpires that there's, how do I put this? Let's say that there's a negative frequency out there that we all know about. Well, many do, but there's sort of an energetic buildup on the plane as well that we were given was spinning at a rate of 7 to 18, which is causing a 72% negative for everybody's experience.
Right.
There's basically a lot of negativity coming out of everything because of the spin rate of the energetic, let's call it the electric, if you will, being negatively polarized, negatively charged.
Yeah.
Can you hear me okay? No, it's freezing up, isn't it?
I've never had it this bad. So
no, it's kind of freezing up. I don't know how much you're going to catch. I stop when I see you stop, but
although I'm sort of on and off, but I can actually hear everything. So continue,
okay.
brother.
Okay, so what's basically happened is with a lot of divine masculine, a lot of feminine are involved in this one, and it's been a culmination of a lot of things. And I don't know if it's a culmination, but it's certainly a large jump. I think I spoke last time. Did I speak last time about the beast machine? I can't remember whether we spoke.
No, I don't remember the beast machine.
Okay, so now we can go back into that afterwards. But I don't know if it's best to bring that up now. So there was a large, let's say, let's bring it back down to the beast machine first. So like 3 or 4 months ago, maybe even a bit less, there was a large construct, and I'm not going to go into too much detail about this, just talk about it loosely. A large construct underground that contained a lot of water that was spinning negatively, let's say, causing a distorted field within Gaia's field, which was creating a negative spin all over. Negative spin, let's just call it negativity, if you wish, rather than positivity. So we all know what's been was negatively orientated. So those that were showing less integrity, less virtue, got rewarded for it, and those who had higher didn't, because of the way that the things had been set up and the inversions. So this, let's call it a beast machine colloquially, was disempowered, repowered, and is now enabling the natural spin of the planet to reaffirm itself. So the natural positive spin of Gaia is being returned incrementally as the consciousness of everybody else and everything else is balanced with this. This also includes the other planets within this galactic area, for want of a better word, because they all again have a realignment of their electromagnetic fields into a positive state. Basically, what I'm talking to here is the quality, not the quantity. So we're not looking at something we can physically see necessarily, but we can more tangibly feel. So this beast machine was disempowered, let's say, returned to working for the higher, let's say, and is now impacting the field positively. Now, subsequent to that, we've got this secondary activation, which has just gone on, whereby quite a lot of masculine and feminine were involved in releasing a lot of positive, I'm going to use colloquial terms, positive energy, electrical energy, if you wish, from the sun. The point of origin is the sun. And Gaia agreed to polarize her field too, so that it would actually accept the electric coming in. This electric was intended to be a 12-12 spin, which is the positive energetic to offset the negative. And one of its instruction sets is to remove, disable, and disabilitate, deactivate all encryption gates and control sources of information, whilst removing the negativity from the infrastructures that information is being utilized through. So anybody that's watching the standard sort of channels everywhere, it doesn't matter where you're looking at, there's a lot of negativity that comes at you through the EM field. Regardless as to what it is you're watching, it still contains that qualitative negativity, or did. That's being amended now, so that this negative viewpoint perspective that people were receiving from the information they were getting is now going to be negated, so that they will see it through the eyes of their heart, if you will, or it won't be so much from that negative viewpoint of all of this is bad, this is bad, this is bad, and allow for a little bit more of that unity to occur, because that's something we are sorely missing right at this moment, brother. That unity, and that's been prevalent too. So as we've been sort of working through this piece, the last while has felt really, really heavy, syrupy, and I know that some will find it, they can just walk through it, and others won't. But everybody's got different roles and do different things. So I've certainly found it to be very separatist, very discordant, very disharmonic, very all the disses, and a complete lack of trying to see common ground, or trying to find a unified concept between 2 or 4 or 6 has been very, very difficult for others to garner that aspect at the same time. So this has been ongoing, and it's just untenable, my friend. It just can't remain like this. And that's what we're witnessing anyway. This breakdown of the negativity. It's not going to be apparent to people, although they will be able to feel it. And this sequential movement towards the positive, but which takes into account the balancing of all of the other things ongoing at the same time. There you go. That's close.
Brilliant, brother. Thank you. Divinely said. And reference to when you say negativity, I mean, if we were to put a time scale as to how long this, I better stop. I don't know when to talk, when not to talk. Sometimes when I appear, disappear. But it's like when we say negativity, we were under this umbrella for. Could you put a time scale? I mean, humanity was under the spell. Can we use a spell word? I mean, can we say this influence thousands of millions of years, thousands of years? I mean, who knows exactly?
I'm just going to say eons.
Okay.
That'll do, because otherwise we get
massive. This is a massive awakening, isn't it? Really?
Yes, well, it's part and parcel of it. So incrementally, this is one of those events that has to happen, and free flow of information and the ability to transfer information without it being censored and cut, and without a negative aspect to it being seen. See, it doesn't matter whether you say something beautiful. Another will receive it negatively because of the frequency that it's being transferred on. So, again, for once, before we continue slightly, what we've got to kind of get our heads around is that, for instance, we don't emit things, we don't emit sound. What happens is there's a pressure build up, and it gets carried. Now what it's being carried through has an impact upon the receiver. So the induction of the energy through the molecular, should you wish to call it that, will then receive its own spin from that molecular. And then that can be picked up by the receiver as a negative. Of course, that was never the intention from the giver, if you wish to call it that way around. And this is all being leveled so that the actual intention is recognized by the other and not the other way.
Would you say, in your humble opinion, which is not, it's more than opinion, as my take, that if people are a little bit more stuck to the illusion still, and let me define what I mean by illusion, if you're attached to the artificial stuff in life, where most people for a long time sensed that their sense of stability was coming from, in terms of whether it was monetary, whatever you want to use to define it, that's being dissolved. So
I mean, basically, we're going through a process of release. Every level of consciousness is going through a process of release, and there's many different levels. And there's no one right or wrong, there's just acceptance that there's lots of different levels and people are playing different roles. Their characters are designed by themselves. So, but the information that's being given, the experience, the environment in which that experience has been undertaken has been malevolently and nefariously created in a negative aspect. And that's not something that can continue.
Now you're going. Yeah.
No, I finished. I don't know. Again, this is bitty, brother, but it is what it is. So no, yes, everybody is being in their own way at their level, at wherever they are, to shed. They have to. There's a lot of shedding happening.
I think this is kicking in more, isn't it now?
Well, that's a simple divine law, isn't it? What else do you need to know?
I mean, can we get a little bit more simpler than that, please? No.
Do. No, don't even do. Just be.
Is it rocket science, or it must be rocket science?
Well, this is the point. I'm trying to go into groups, and I still do every now and then, even though it's, I kind of hope that the group will be able to see something or agree on something, and yet still we're finding they're not. And this is freedom groups, truther groups, sovereign groups, it matters not. And simply when asked what is divine law, I say do no harm, and people laugh and they mock and they scorn and demean, and they're like, what? And as if this is a abstract, ridiculous concept. And this is the ideas of this pride and this ego that is still being held by all of these that feel aggrieved and that they're owed something, so they're angry and they want their pound of flesh. If you give them something simple like do no harm, that's no good to them. Where do they get their money back? Where do they get their what's been stolen from them back from that? It's this concept that everybody's owed something from what was. No, all that you're owed is the lessons that you garnered from it, and that was beautiful. Stop and start again. And of course, everybody can easily sit with do no harm. It doesn't need much conjecture. What else do we need to write? But apparently that's not enough.
Yeah, and for me, my own personal viewpoint is everything begins with self, because it's a kind of projection. Because if you're harming yourself in terms of buying a lot of the artificial illusion, and it because it's made to look real, and the pain is real for most people. I'm not saying it's not, because of the emotional, mental blockages that I use my words very carefully, that was past tense in place. And now some people, and I must say, I did have an experience where it was a bit of a rude awakening with some of the things. But now I'm in a position, I'm so excited to be part of this, and so blessed to be in this position where we're not just having this beautiful conversation, but sharing this energy with brothers and sisters that are going to be in full alignment. And so, phase 1, phase 2 would be interesting to see the kind of things. And I'm visualizing a lot of positive things. And one of the things I'm actually that I've written, I thank yourselves and coming together with such authenticity, is the word sickness, because I did bite the bullet for a long time, because it was made to look real, and for me now it's a test, and because it is powerful. It's a powerful test. It's because every action has a reaction. It's how you react. And then what intentions are you going to put? Let's say you graduate from that phase. What are you going to do with that?
See, every action has a cause and effect. Every action has a reaction, if you will. But then if you think about it, what actions are you taking? So if you know that every action has a reaction, or cause and effect are real, and this karma idea is a sort of oldish fakery that creates this spiritual whatever, karma, miasma, and dharma, and all of these ideas that push you into years and years of tenure because of past life experiences, which you've got no clue about. And again, I'm not knocking them. I'm just saying it creates complexity where there need not be any. Cause and effect. I do something, there's an effect by it. Then you start to consider what it is that you're doing because you know there's going to be an effect. And you start to monitor the effect of what it is that you are doing, and you pay a particular attention to this now, because this is important. This is impacting you, your day-to-day life, because of your decisions that you are making. They will have an effect. Are they the desired effect, or should you make different decisions? So are you meticulous about what it is that you do, or do you just do things because you have to? And of course, if you think that you have to do things, then you're being swayed by an external source that's telling you to do things, and then, well, the effect is outside of your control. Again, this is breaking up quite a bit, brother. But again, I don't know how much of that you caught, my friend.
50%. 50%.
So it's getting difficult, because if we can't, if bits are being lost at your end, then the story it won't come through, unless it's worth starting it again.
Yeah, I mean, shall we do that and see what happens? So I'll shut it down and then start it again. Yeah. All right.
I think so. We can start again just straight away.
Yeah. Give me a few seconds or 1 minute. Thank you.
Perfect.
Right.
It's okay, brother. People in the chat are saying it's okay.
It's okay. And John just said it's okay as well, because he's been watching it from his room. He said, if anything, he said, move your laptop. So let's just go with the flow. Although it gives that illusion or situation that it's coming and going, but people are relatively happy-ish.
Yeah, I was just trying to comment on that, but I can't. I hear you, Dean. Thank you, brother. So I don't know where we were, but start again. So whatever has been said, my lovely brother. Bring up the next topic.
Yes.
You're muted.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's yeah. I mean, it's like, where do we start with the next question? I mean, in as far as the questionings are, what sort of questions, how deep do
So I can't hear you at all.
You can't hear me. Oh dear.
It's just frozen. It's just frozen. Was I frozen?
Okay, let me be quick. Sorry if I don't see myself because of the situation. Is why are we opening our eyes? That is a question. What is our sole purpose of our divine place on planet Earth? What are we doing here?
Many things. I missed a lot of that question. All I heard was, why do we open our eyes? What's our sole purpose? What are we doing here?
Exactly.
Now, philosophy, I mean, we can go into philosophy about a lot of this, but you also got to bear in mind there seems to be a lot of different consciousnesses and different souls that are here, and apparently quite a few that aren't souls too, but we won't speak about them so much. So it seems to be, for me anyway, again, I'm going to talk about this philosophically from a viewpoint perspective, that many are experiencing the physical through whatever choices they made to be here for this period. I'm not going to talk about necessarily previous incarnations in different places, etc. But this is a physical aspect of creation. Now, what is creation? We can go into that if you will and see why the souls may wish to be in a physical form inside this aspect of creation. But again, for this, we can go into so much philosophy about it without getting to an answer. And there is no answer, because everything that we can conceive, by definition, will not have the answer in it. It will just have a part of it in it. So this is up to the individual to discover for themselves as to why do they open their eyes? What is it that they actually are? And what is it that their purpose is at this time in this physical vessel, in this environment, in Gaia, in this dimensional bandwidth? You can then extrapolate that into what actually are you? What does this move into? What's the bigger picture? What is creation? Is creation just physical, or is it the energy behind the physical? So is creation the energy, or is creation the physical aspect? Is the energy infinite? And if it is infinite, when did creation start? Or was creation always here? And if creation was always here, then there was no start point to creation unless we put one in, and that's a man-made concept. So inside the infinite, when did creation start, or has creation always been? So therefore, you can then see when you answer these questions, when you philosophize about these things, first and foremost, you've got to develop the framework around which it is you're working. So if you're going to talk to why do we open our eyes? Well, what is it that we are? Do we open our eyes, or does the physical vessel open its eyes? What is it that we actually are? Are we the consciousness behind creation? Are we the energy of creation? Are we the infinite that has no start and finish, or are we the vessel that opens its eyes? Again, it gets very much bigger, but we must put in the aspect of what it is that we can see perspective-wise. So why do I consider the energetic influence of creation, and certainly this aspect that we can see it to be, as infinite? This is where we go into the molecular. This is when we go into creation itself. What forms the physical vessel? What forms the outside world? What is that? Well, it's light. It's light. It's information. We can see it as real, or we can see it as what it actually is the energy behind it that is forming it into a physical temporal reality. There is mechanisms that how that works, but these are all concepts that we must be able to extrapolate into. Why do we open our eyes? Do you see?
I mean, from a perspective of no two souls are the same, they're vibrating different frequencies. So, I mean, somebody listening, homing on to our conversation, some people may pick up one or two things. Some people may not pick up anything. Some people think, wow, this is amazing. So it's a little bit like that, maybe. But for me, there is an underlining soul purpose. And I genuinely feel this is my interpretation, is that there is a soul evolution taking place. So,
well, you can call it evolution, or you can call it a reflection of evolution. Because, you know, again, we can look at time as being linear, or we can look at time as non-existent in the infinity of the energy behind it all. And this is already played out, and we are replaying it. You know, for us to believe this is the first time, or this is the be-all and end-all, means that we're on the cutting edge of infinity, where time doesn't exist. And of course, that's not strictly the case. So again, there's a lot of other aspects to this that we can add to it as we're looking at this. A lot when you start to realize that there's a lot, you know, again, what it is that's going on. But you've got to embody this. You can't just have the knowledge of it. You've got to sort of walk through a little bit more. So I don't mind speaking to this, because a lot will miss it, as you just said. A lot will take out of it what they will. To come back to what you just said a minute ago about each soul has an individual frequency. Well, if they didn't, there'd only be one.
Yeah.
So every soul has their unique ability, their unique frequency, their unique genetic coding, because otherwise there'd only be one. You wouldn't need more. And one of the fascinating things I love to just give people is let's say there's 6 billion other souls on the planet, and they're all you having a different experience, because they are ultimately. So there's 6 billion other yous experiencing life differently for you.
That's very powerful, brother. That's very, very powerful. And that's why it's important, I guess, to treat people with the highest integrity and love. Yes. Because it reflects back on you. So what you send out is what you'll get back. You reap and you get back, right? So for me,
that's the thing about separation, brother. This is the thing that's dragging us so much at the moment, is this separation aspect, where ones are treating others with disdain, mockery, and scorn. as if they're right and the other's wrong, and they're not acceptant of the fact the other is them. You know, you're treating yourself that way. Of course, you're going to get some back, but there's no recognition of the cause and effect systems. So people just, again, it's not a lack of education. Well, it is it's an obfuscation in the education, but we're not taught to recognize these things in day-to-day life. So it's not a concept people are aware of. One of the things that's most important, and I will state this to all, and I probably made a big deal out of it in the first interview, is virtue.
Yes.
It's in personal integrity, because what you give, you get. And that's with the thought. It starts with the thought. It starts with the concept behind the thought. It starts with the actual field, your own field, and that creates the action. So there's a lot more goes into this for a virtue when you're talking to virtue and morality and honor and integrity. These are so important. And of course, if you can hold your own virtue and recognize in the other that they are experiencing something that you've probably already experienced differently, there is no separation in that. There's just empathy. One of the things people, for me anyway, on reflection, empathy, I see in others what I've been through myself at different phases of my linear timeline here. And I offer the other. See, I can recognize that I wouldn't have listened either in those phases. I wouldn't have heard another speaking because I wasn't ready to. And it didn't really matter what I'd received in those phases. I was going to go through those phases the way I went through them, and that's perfect. So all I can be for another in those moments when I recognize them within me is to give them what it was that maybe would have most benefited me at that time. And even if they throw it back at me, it's okay, because I think I probably would have thrown it back at whoever given it to me if they could have at the time when I was going through it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't take away from the fact that that's my honesty and that's my purity and that's my truth that I would have liked to receive when I was going through that phase that you're going through right now. And I can hold that space for you regardless of your reaction, action, whatever you do with it. I can pretty much hold that space for you. Because I know where you are. It's not that I'm above you. I recognize you in me, and I recognize me in you. And this is that namaste, or the empathy. We can call it so many different things. But that's the purity. So it doesn't matter what the other's saying, doing, being, or to a degree anyway, because you know that they are just in a state of angst, but they will get it and they will get past it because you did. Yeah. I did. I went through this process. I went through that process. I see what you're doing. I see where you are. I know what you're going to be doing next almost, and where you're going to be going to. It's just you don't yet. That's okay. So I'll give you something that would have helped me, because that's all I can do. I can only speak my truth, and I can only speak it from a level that I would have possibly received had I been open at the time that of what this individual in front of me is going through. Again, I don't want to rant. I don't want to ramble too much. But
it's okay to be uncomfortable, right? I mean, it's sometimes because some hot topic conversation, I don't mean necessarily a lot of what we're covering, but there are some aspects of our conversation that may not go down well. I don't know which parts, but the most important is, what is our intention behind it all? What are we doing exactly?
One of the interesting things you just said about that is it's okay to be uncomfortable. Are you uncomfortable, Baret? Are you uncomfortable?
I'm very comfortable.
So am I, brother. So it's okay to be uncomfortable if you wish to be, but we're not. Because there's nothing here trying to harm anybody. There's nothing here attacking anybody.
That's one of my strengths, that I do enjoy being uncomfortable, you see, because what I find, the triggers that people come into my, and I've had a few triggers, haven't we all? And the thing is that I'm a different level. When somebody triggers me, they hold something about me, and some people sometimes can misunderstand, that I accept that, or there may be something that I need to improve my game or raise my frequency. So, I don't know how that would. Yeah.
again, I'm sorry. I don't mean to jump over you. It's a little bit again. I'm going to
Sorry.
openly state that again. I'll say this very, very simply. Nobody can anger you. You can only anger yourself. Nobody can trigger you. You can only be triggered. Nobody can activate you. You can only activate yourself. These things where people, again, I get it in different levels of the consciousness experience. We've all been through this too.
Because we allow them, right? We allow them. And that's
we allowed ourselves. It wasn't them. We allowed ourselves. We didn't have enough respect and love for ourselves. And we didn't know any better. So there's no blame here, but it's just fact. So when I say nobody can anger you, you can only be angered yourself. You can only allow yourself to be angered. And why would you do that if you love yourself? Surely you've had enough of anger. It's true. But I also get that at different levels of my own consciousness, I'd have said, fuck off. I'm not having that. No way. I get that too. So there's many levels of this where it can seem as though ones are telling or demeaning the other's experience, but it's simply not the case. Once you recognize it, the only one that can allow you to be angry is yourself. And I didn't choose, I was divinely guided to release all of that in 2019, where I haven't been angry since. I've been a little bit, every now and then activated, as we call it, in the first couple of years, maybe. But I can't allow myself to be angry. I don't even carry that frequency within me.
Wow, that's amazing. But I mean, I was just about to say, if you were extremely hypercritical about yourself, and is there any aspect that you would be quite constructive? Is there any elements that you could say, well, there's an area that I could still work on? Or because things are, because even when we take the word truth, it's not static. It's expanding. Everything is growing. So we are all growing. So, and we're using an opposing polarity to raise our game, I guess.
There's a level, there's a level where you can go past the idea of duality is required and necessary. It's there is dual pole aspect. I agree when you look at magnetic and all the rest of it, but they are joined by a single core. So there is.
That's a tough one to bend. Yeah.
Again, this is about conceptualization and perspective and your own levels of consciousness. So there's a lot of foundation that needs to go into releasing those ideas, but they are ideas. You need to experience the evil before you can experience the love. You have to experience darkness before you can enjoy the light. These are concepts. They aren't necessarily true when we go into higher levels of being, but in the distorted levels of being, they are a truth. So a lot of these things can change. Again, the same thing with triggers, the same thing with child work, mirrors. There's a certain point in time that I went through this. I'm talking about myself again, I'm looking for things to heal because I believe that I need to be healed. And there's a point in time where I stop looking because why am I believing I need to be healed? Isn't that causing the anxiety about not being healed? So again, grabbing your soul parts and soul remnants and creating yourself as one. Okay. How long for before that's done? Yeah, again, I think you get the idea. So there's, as we go through this in stages, the truth changes. So yes, we're looking for activation because that shows me an area of growth. But what if I don't get activated anymore? Do I keep looking for them? Or do I say that's finished and now I can move? And if it happens again, rather than me looking for it, because it's not going to happen anymore. And then if it does, I can work on that, but I'm not expecting it or anticipating it anymore. I'm not looking for it. I've gone past that point. What does that look like? And it's a freedom. It's a freedom. So a lot of these things do change, my friend, as you start to release them yourself. And it may be through experimentation with your own physical vessel or with your own energetic. What if I don't need healing?
Yeah, no, I mean, for some, it's things like bereavement. I mean, the loss of losing someone you love, whether it was a car accident or the separation, pain. That's a whole different.
I can't talk too much about that, but the education.
I appreciate that, but yeah, of course. But I'm just saying some of the causes that might be in play as an equation as to why people go down that path.
But that's for
And
that soul. That's for
yeah,
that soul. And if the truth had been given to all on this plane that they were eternal, infinite, and
absolutely,
divine,
absolutely. Yeah, I get that. Yeah,
would they feel the grief so much?
well, exactly. And what is
You
yeah?
know, what, you've not lost anything. Isn't grief about losing something or somebody? And that's not the case. If the truth was known on the individual level, which again, at the level of the soul, it couldn't be known because they had to go through that process. But that's not going
I
to be the
agree.
case going forward.
I agree. I mean,
So it's
because,
not demeaning anybody that's gone through this. And of course, we all have, but it's still not real. And again, when you said at the beginning about pain being very real, I'll ask you to reminisce back to when you lost your first girlfriend or when you had your first heartbreak.
oh God, yeah,
How painful that was at the time. How much pain did you actually undergo? Now, how much pain can you remember? Or is it just a thought process
such
that's
a
gone?
beautiful lesson as well, because I suppose I managed to neutralize it, but maybe I'm amongst the fortunate few who has the ability to balance the
No,
situation.
it's they say time heals. It doesn't. It means that we remember it
Well, you could,
differently. We move on. But
but
what it means is there was nothing to heal. There was just a memory that was painful in the moment, but it's got less pain attached to it now because it's less negative.
I mean, some people would say if you don't, and I'm not one of them, but some people might say that if you don't learn the lesson, it will just repeat.
It will. But this is purely about choice.
Yeah.
So when we take a lower choice, let's say again, I talk to this about that I am a divine eternal being, or I am not.
Yes.
If we keep choosing the I am not, then it will repeat until we choose the I am. It's that simple. And this is where experience is. So each level of experience, if you choose the I am not, then you'll get it again until you choose the I am, and then you move to the next level of experience. It's that simple. And we've done this with all of our process through our lives.
Is it fair to say the platform in which we were orchestrating our movements, there was an opposing, again, it's a story, but there was some kind of level of manipulation, but your agreement was you were fully pledged and aware before coming into whatever it is you were coming into. You were pretty conscious of it. But
before we
again,
go through that,
yeah,
let's just make sure that because we've got to consider different soul, different levels of content, different levels of experience.
Yeah,
there's not one truth for all.
absolutely.
Even though there is, but it's.
I understand.
Yeah.
That's why. Pardon me saying my piece, but that's why it's so imperative to stay neutral. The temptation is always there, but to stay neutral and to stay grounded and not buy into the drama, which the temptation is always there. And the current situation we're in at the moment, reference to I call it upgrade or whatever definition we want to give it. Or restoration, or going back to where the planet was once was. But I don't feel that way at all. But that's me, maybe. I feel that it's an unprecedented evolutionary state of Mother Earth is resonating at a much higher frequency. And everything that's ready to go with it will go. And there's nothing wrong, because we don't do right or wrong. It's perfectly perfect. If you don't feel the necessary to go, it's perfect as well, I guess. It's not for us to judge, yes, it is, or no, it isn't. So if you feel that you are in a good place and whatever is tickling you to say that, then that's perfect, isn't it, brother? Although,
by definition, it's perfect. But what I'm going to suggest is that what one may feel from their consciousness that they are able to access in this frequency is not necessarily what the universe has in store for them, or their higher self has in store for them going forwards. So ones may feel that they are, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do the other, but that takes away from what the universe knows they need. So there's always this want versus need, and you may want a lot of things, but if you don't get what you want, you get experience.
Do you think it's important to have a set of tools to operate from? Like, let me define what I mean by tools. I mean, like for it's a statement that you make with yourself first, and you take your impression out into the field, and like reference to the most powerful, do no harm. This isn't about personal gain or profit. A lot of people would struggle with that, maybe because they were under the umbrella that, because if you are in the survival mode attitude, that's going to be a tough one to bend the mind around, that one, because I guess money is very, very important. And will money be around for a very long time? Because it is a powerful means of exchange. Although, do not worship, because if you're worshipping something, or you because you've lost your balance, remember, you've got to be quite neutral. And do you work for money, or money works for you? Which way are you looking? Because I can only tell you what's kept me in good stead, because first of all, I treat people the way I want to be treated. Often that's sometimes misunderstood, because they find me quite patronizing. Sometimes it might be, maybe. But what I'm saying is that I may give the wrong impression sometimes. But am I rich? You damn right I'm rich. And how do you find rich? Well, peace. I'm at peace with myself. What does that do? Well, what doesn't it do? Sorry, pardon the expression. I think it kicks, pardon the expression, it kicks ass, doesn't it? Because you're leaving a phenomenal impression wherever you go.
It wasn't valued prior. Okay. This is the difference. It was laughed and scorned upon because the material has been imposed upon people, you know. And again, I get it. You know, we've all been involved in it. We've just chosen not to be anymore because we've seen through it. Money is a valuable means of exchange. What? Who's taught you that? I know it was, but what? As I've said, I'd like to just add this. I'd like to add this before we continue.
Yes, please.
Drop 100 people on a desert island. At what point do we create a monetary system? What? When do we create a monetary system that has them? And what is a monetary system to humanity?
Yeah.
But exactly. I get it. You know, I've got a thing up here.
You know what it does, Pablo? It creates division. You see, that's the name of the, I suppose. And we don't. That doesn't resonate anymore with, you know.
There's this thing. You asked a question, but I can't. It's breaking up an awful lot, my friend. It really is. I'm just trying to keep it going with as best as I can. Yeah. Cool. You asked a question about, you know, what is it we can do, and really, even though I've had to experiment for quite a long time with myself, because I just got, you know, it's divine direction, let's say, from within. But in as much as my solitude and my role has been to do this, the biggest thing to do is question your truth. What it is, I think I said this in the first one. What is it that you believe, and let go of the beliefs? You must come down to a knowing that you are. And were you born to be subservient? Were you born to be a slave? Is Peter over there a slave? Is he over there better than you? And all of these things. And when you brought it down to when you were born, that equality must be recognized. When you were born, were you not by definition equal with every other child born at that time? And if that's the case, then the only thing that changed, the only thing that wasn't equal about everything that was born, every soul that was born, was money. So everything else was equal except your ability to have money, which apparently is the fundamental thing that we need to exist. Bullshit. So everything that was born equal. We can pretty much agree that very, very quickly. It doesn't take too much to agree. Two babies born, you know, take away their family names. What are they? Equal. Now, the only thing that we have to question is whether or not they're infinite or finite. And if we agree that they're infinite, then they're equal and infinite. What's the only thing that changes that? Money. How? If we can agree these two simple premises, everybody is equal and everybody is infinite. what else do we need to worry about apart from, I mean, do no harm fits in there, brother. You know, it's already in there. Everybody's equal and infinite. Well, do no harm. Sorry, my friend. Again, I think you're back a little bit, so maybe I can hear you if you talk.
No, I heard that, brother. I heard 95% of that. That's powerful.
It's simple though, but it takes a lot of time, really. It took me a while to be able to embody that, from a concept into a realization, into an embodiment, into acting it, into being it, into seeing it. I know that you're a divine brother of mine. I know that you are equal. We are all equal. I know that you are infinite, eternal, brother. You know, and every brother and sister, I know this when I see them. It doesn't matter what I see in front of me. I know behind that is an infinite, eternal being, and there is just an experience happening in front of me that is, you know, it could be beautiful, it could be, it doesn't matter. We don't need to label it. We can just recognize the beauty in what that one is undergoing or experiencing.
I mean, things are changing so quickly, brother. I mean, I have to confess about something, because sometimes there was a time I would take things a little bit personal sometimes, and that's because you know, there was some kind of program running, and the temptation is always there, especially when I see people operating from scarcity. And
see, you asked me a minute ago about what would I criticize in myself.
Yeah.
And one of the hardest things for me to release was the feeling I could help another.
Yes.
And because I got for the last 12, 15 years, I've been a teacher in a different kind of, for all sorts of different ages, not necessarily a teacher at school, but more vocational. It's always about getting information into people. And of course, I've been a conspiracy theorist or factualist for years. So it's trying to find a different perspective to get something across to somebody as if it's my job to do so. And that was the thing that, especially coming through this period, I found the hardest. You know, I know paths that are quicker for each experience, because they are, but they're not. It's not my job to tell that soul what to do, so I can only guide them. But then when that's rejected, you know, I can do it. I did over and over and over. I banged my head against the wall so many times trying to get people to flow easier, to release, to get out of that lack, scarcity mentality. And I had to realize that it wasn't my job to do that. And that was one of the hardest things. In fact, I've got tears now, because you're witnessing somebody that you know, because in yourself, what you were experiencing, and you would have loved to somebody to take you out of it. And that's what you're trying to give to them, but you can't. And therefore you can only offer them space and compassion, but even compassion and sympathy, no, not sympathy, compassion and empathy it's all that you can give them is the truth to the level of knowledge that you've got, or to the level of wisdom that you've got. And therefore sometimes the truth may seem to be harsh to them in the moment, but you know later they'll receive it as it was meant. And you have to release that as well, because you have to be your own truth. So once you realize what it is that you need to be virtuous, you know, these ideas, then you must speak your truth with no fear of what the other may or may not do. And considering, you know, letting go of that was probably I was hypercritical about myself all the time. Why can't I get through to this? Why can't they see that? Why can't I do it this way? I've tried all of this. What else can I try? And that took a while, brother. And I still find myself doing that a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, some people felt kindness is weakness for a long time. I mean, things are changing, but
define kindness.
Yeah, why is that considered weak? I mean, if you know,
what does it mean?
When you put yourself out for another, to feel the pain of another sentient being from an empathetic point of view, to see how.
See that as, brother, again, I'm going to ask, when you ask being kind, I've been told many times that I am cruel, unkind.
No, definitely not. You have to be cruel to be kind, so because you're opposing the other side of things. So if you're going to bring truth to the surface, you have to see things are relatively polarized. You see, so you got to shatter the illusion, because sorry to say, some people may be led to believe into a lie, possibly. So how do you identify truth? Yeah.
What is kindness?
Mm.
Is it in the eye of the? Is it for you to say what's kind, or is it for the other?
Yeah, because people are very quick to, or they can be a bit cocky and define. Look at him, and like, well, look. What do you mean? Look at him. Well, how much time are you spending with that person? How much quality time are you spending? How do we know? You have to put yourself out a little bit. You got to come out of your comfort zone a little bit. Go into the uncharted and see what is seeing. How do we know what we're seeing is what it is? You know, so you got to feel your way, and you got to understand the person and the mechanics of how manipulation takes place. Because I've been manipulated so many times, it's unreal.
We all have, and that's how
we
we've learned
manipulation, but I fake the manipulation.
But that's how we've learned to balance it now and recognize it so well.
Well, I thank those people, you know, who've manipulated. Thank you.
Yes, because you taught me.
Yeah.
So what is quality time? You know, again, when we boil this down, because in the moment, we see things through our own perspective. So for instance, I'm going to go back into an old sort of concept. It's not, you know, just talking about something from the past as a throwaway comment. I could talk about relationships that I had that were terrible. Now, do I talk about them as quality time? Whilst I was having those relationships, were they quality time?
No.
Or can I look at them now as quality time?
Yeah.
Well, they weren't. Because if you look at them from now, what you did was you learned all the way through them. And therefore they had quality. They gave you something that you wouldn't have got had you not gone through them. So therefore they were quality time. But if we remember them from that time, they were terrible. So we've got to bear in mind that truth changes, but so does our perception of things. Yeah. So what is kindness? What is quality time? It's only in the perception of the individual at that moment. This wasn't quality time. Well, you wait and see. Maybe in 6 months you'll think it was. So which one's right? Which one's right? Is it the one that's saying it isn't? Or is it the one that later on reflection sees the benefit of that time? So again, this is where we get this idea of what's right now is the end game. But we can all recognize from our experiences that when you look back on times that were terrible, they're not so bad now, especially if there's a lot of time that's happened since then. So quality time is another bullshit terminology. That depends on what it is that you will reflect on it like afterwards. You should not be describing it in the moment as if you know.
Well, that's a test. It could be a test. Yeah.
Well, this is the other thing. So you're being unkind. Why? You're telling me things I don't want to hear. But are they the truth? Well, yeah, but it's too much for me. But
well, I find the manipulators, from my perspective, the manipulators speak things that you want to hear initially, because that's bait. They use that to pull you into a possible scenario or situation.
You could also use that as if they didn't manipulate you and you weren't able to bite, then you wouldn't have gone there. So thank them for it.
Oh, definitely. 100%.
In the old way. In the old way.
Yeah. So where do we go from here, Lee? I mean, in as far as like these exciting times, I think you see, for me, struggle without life is meaningless. You see, the struggle has to have meaningfulness, you know, and for me, the struggle is building yourself to a level of awareness, but then you become some kind of creator.
You already are.
Yeah, but someone
access more.
Thank you for saying that, brother. I agree, but some people are still maybe a little bit stuck.
Well, brother, we still got to talk our truth, and the truth is that you just access more of your creative abilities when you balance, harmonize your frequency. Any soul is already a creator. By definition, they are. It's just what access they've got to that frequency in this experience. manifestation of, all of these things are going to change as we move forward, because we're getting closer to, or a purer frequency. Therefore, you're manifesting more from a service to everything than you are from a service to self. It's harmonic. What you're doing is for the benefit of all, because you don't need. Everything that you need is being given to you. So everything that you create is for the benefit of others. It's not for yourself, and it's not this service to self idea. So this is what people are going through right now, is the release of this selfishness. Now, I want to just put in there that selfishness is a required necessity, and there's nothing wrong with being selfish, as long as that selfishness is to purify your own temple, if you will, to look after yourself, to raise your frequency, to service to self, to release that into service to others. There's also the old selfishness, which isn't the same.
It's my understanding was there's a difference between selfishness and self-centered.
Well, however you define it, brother, there's the selfish.
It's like you're bringing everything into order.
Yes, and that's a necessity.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
everybody must be selfish to align their own frequencies. They must place their own boundaries within themselves. This isn't something you place externally. You know what you are, and therefore you tolerate or accept what you will. But this is a service to self, which opens you up to service to others. A selflessness, self-centered. Yeah, well, we all know what happens with those. But we all learn through those experiences. So thank you for anybody that played that role in my time here.
That is so powerful, isn't it, brother? Gratitude is the foundation that supports.
It's recognizing.
That is so empowering, isn't it, brother? To be thankful and
otherwise what? Otherwise what you got left if you're not thankful? Disgruntled, upset, angry, bewildered, confused. Yeah, all of these things are happening with many out there, because it needs to be harmonized. It has to be balanced, and each individual's job is to balance themselves. Each soul's duty is to look after their own emotional state, and that may be harsh for a lot to hear, but it's still the truth.
Well, the thing is, like, when I haven't been watching television for a long time right now, but if you put let's be very transparent about all this, because like if your viewpoint is into this, you look into the box, does anything real positive things come out of that? I don't know. I mean, okay, you can watch documentaries and things that can be quite enlightening, but most of the garbage journalism that comes out of it's been quite manipulative. But again, we don't learn from. Are we learning or remembering, or we're bringing ourselves to the level of being conscious observers? And to stay conscious observers, because the temptation is always there to buy into the drama. It's there. Like I said, when I see people who are in that field of scarcity, the temptation is always there to help. But I think the greatest help you can give someone is your time, your precious time, to be to feel their anguish and to say, I'm here, I can see you, so that the healing process there, because you can't buy your way out, I guess. Can you buy your way out of trouble?
No, because trouble isn't. See, again, it depends on what you
say. Yeah,
there's no spiritual bypass. There's no bypassing anything.
There's no easy way out.
No, I mean, again, I'm going to come back to the I am not. Generally, the hardest thing I ever did, one of the hardest things I ever did, was reach out for help. And I tried many times, but it was false. When I was properly needed help, I actually asked for it. It was one of the hardest things I ever had to do, and I was divinely blessed to be granted it at that point. But people, again, if I recognize it through myself, then many times I've asked for help, I didn't really need it. When I did, I got it. Again, this is that I am not. When you ask for help, you must mean it. Otherwise, it's the fake side of it, and then you don't get it. You don't take it on board. You don't do anything with it. There's always there's a self-appointment to this. There's a self-accountability, and there's a self-responsibility. And these are abilities. They're not abilities. They're not external to you. They're abilities, and they need to be practiced. They take time. This isn't something you just snap your fingers and get. There is internal work. There is a stance that you must take within your own physicality to say that's enough. I will become something different. I will make different choices because I love who I am. And this aspect of that is what is so missing from this consumeristic, materialistic, corporatized experience, which is all being blown apart because it's no good. And that's a good way of putting it. It's no good to anybody. So what is, and then we're going to say good or bad. I'm not interested in calling it right or wrong. We can all observe what has been, and we can all say that we could do better. Now, that's simply opening your eyes in the morning. You can observe what you were yesterday and say, I can do better, or I can be better. What does better mean? It doesn't mean more money in your bank account. It means more virtue and more heartfelt stuff. It means that you are more of you, less of what that wants you to be. And again, this is that idea of really spending time and going into this. But beautifully, one thing that has happened is the vanguard that are here, the divine ones that are here, have blown through a lot of this distortion in the consciousness, so that those that are seeking this now haven't got the avenues all over the place to go down. There's so many distractions and rabbit holes. It's already been done, and it makes it a lot quicker. So when ones make the choices now, the outcomes are so much quicker. The process is so much easier, or that's what it will be. I'm not going to say it's going to be easy because it's not. It wasn't. It wasn't. It could be, but again, we'll see. As I'm watching ones go through it at the moment, there's still a lot of kicking and screaming happening as ones release their old ideas into what they will be. But there's the other side of it is so much better and so much bigger. There's just this fear levels in between that hold ones back. And this is what's being broken, these fear levels, so that ones can rise without so much friction in between.
I suppose I can tell you what's happened to me since coming in contact with yourselves, Lee and Rick, and with reference to GPMS, brother, is a lot of, if not all my ego. I mean, ego is important because we use that to grow. But the thing is, now my soul kicked in and has done a lot of the healing. So remember when I first met you as well, I was saying, oh, I've got this pain here, a little bit pain here. And these were acting as certain blockages because I was defensive a little bit. I don't mean towards you, but reference to what this GPMS was all about. Because I was still thinking, and my whole take on it is completely changed. Because I'm treating it like it is mine, but I'm a guardian.
It's yours.
It is mine, and I'm proudly saying it's mine, but at the same time, I'm sort of saying what is the highest form is not to say you own it. Because to guard, exactly, because we don't need copyright. It's like the ethos is it belongs to everybody. The minute we start saying this is mine, that is yours, that's when the problem starts, I guess. Is that
and
correct?
That's what. Again, absolutely, my friend. This need to own. Again, I'm not. This new world order terminology is broached into every aspect. Is this you'll own nothing and be happy? Well, yeah, but from a completely different side of things, because you'll be a guardian of everything.
Here's a question, and who initiated this idea? What brought this GPM? Was it collectiveness of minds coming together? And because I'm conscious of the fact that the two people that I'm familiar with is yourself and Rick. Outside of
the Chopsy one.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that it's not important who started it first. Maybe it was just a simple conversation like we're having now. So something came out of it and said, well, this feels right.
I'll give you, okay, let's talk about GPMS. Let's go into that a little bit. I'll give you my story, and people can take their own perspectives on it. It's up to them if they wish to. I'm going to talk about Rick and his connection with the divine aspect, the father aspect of the divine. I'm not knocking the mother aspect, the mother, father. I love them both to bits, dearly. But this was given as part of the ascension process for humanity through Rick. Now, he asked, could he do it himself? And he was told categorically, no. This takes everybody. So that's the way it started. It was divinely given to Rick, and the time that it was actually introduced to the public was also divinely given by Father as the right time. Now, you can take Father and Mother, and people got their own ideas on this. So I'm talking about my story.
Yes.
The aspect of GPMS was given to Brother Rick, who's directly connected. That's my story. And that was transferred into a concept. He was given the concept, and then we had to manifest it. So we had to put it into play. Now, I know others have got issues with different words, and I'm telling my story. So this was then developed by others because Rick can't do it. It's not one person's job. There is no savior. Everybody saves themselves because everybody is the savior. So this concept of one coming and giving it all, no, it's got to be done by everybody. So this is why GPMS is everybody's, because it cannot be done without everybody. And it will not, but it will be done. So we know this. So this is the point about Rick and I can speak about this because we've embodied whatever level we needed to be able to speak about this. But we'd be happy tomorrow to step back out of the way and let others take it. Because it's everybody's, and a couple of years to build it, maybe 2.5 to get people on board. So what? It matters not. It will happen, and all of humanity will be an equal shareholder and guardian of GPMS. It will be called whatever humanity wishes to call it, because nothing is owned. It's open for everybody. Whether there's money, whether we print money or whether we have it digital, is humanity's choice. The people that are telling people what they will do and what's going to be given to them are just so fake. Ultimately, the souls on this planet will choose their experience, already have. And we are just walking through the manifestation stages of this right now. So who gave it? The prime creator, for want of a better word, to ascend humanity out of the savagery and barbaric systems that were imposed upon them by a darker aspect, which I doth my cap still to, developed, let's say, malevolent, nefarious obfuscations and basic lies and deceit at every single level of the human experience. That's all being released, or been released. Now it's being manifested. Now we're walking into the release of that in the physical. And there's nothing stops this, nothing at all.
You know why? There's nothing else, because what else can you compare it to?
I'm not even talking about GPMS. I said the only time I would leave GPMS is if there was a better option. If a better option came out, that's the only time I would leave GPMS. And that can never happen, because if there was a better option, we would take it into GPMS.
Exactly, yeah.
I'm still flabbergasted, brother, that at this point in time, there's the two. Again, I know that it is what it is.
Yeah.
But there's so few that are vocal. There's many, but at a level, there's so few relatively that are vocal or that have aligned themselves and are equal. Relatively, again, I get it. There's a divine plan ongoing, and it's tedious. You see, there's still a human aspect to me that finds it tedious. But it's got to give. Things have got to give, and it seems to be that we're very, very close again. So let's fingers crossed.
Because I get a sense of feeling that people are tired, because, reference to the word politicians, again, it's what's been playing out. It's gone, isn't it? So what I say to listeners, stop giving your powers away, right, Lee? Why do we need to give our powers
Yeah.
to, I mean, what's going on there? Why do we need to give our powers to is it because some people don't like the responsibility? Is it fair to is that a fair argument?
Everything that is around takes away responsibility. Everything people have been taught removes responsibility from the individual and places it on something external to them. It's not that people don't want responsibility, it's they've never had any. This is why I say it's an ability that takes growth.
I'll give you an example. You don't realize what goes into bringing up a child until you have one yourself, because then you realize, wow, that was a bit of an effort for my parents. Because for me, the biggest struggle was like when they become sick and they start coughing and vomiting, and you're afraid, and you realize how much it goes into it. And then obviously the schooling aspect as well, because you feel that, I mean, I'm meeting kids all the time at the moment that they're bored shitless. I had to pause there as well. I mean, as young as 12-year-olds, they're saying, I hate going to school.
Yeah.
Because the teachers are giving us stuff that just don't excite us.
They don't want anything. I spoke to a 12-year-old this week. He sat with me for an hour trying to learn stuff. He was brought around by his mum, and I couldn't get him to speak to me. I was trying to talk about computer games, all sorts of stuff. Yeah, anything. No, just absolutely dead to the world. I don't want to learn any of this. I don't want to be here. I don't want to speak to you. A 15-year-old a couple of weeks ago, she's just, she's learning trigonometry and all of these graphs and stuff. And she said, what's this? And I'm like, all of that you just don't need. But how do you tell a school child, 12 years old, that it's all bullshit? But it is. It's this phase we're in, where we're moving through this education system. It's just an indoctrination system.
Do you have in your heart? Do you have do you have a tendency of? I have a feeling I know the answer to the question, but in terms of like visualizing, do you see, this time next year, the map has changed? There's a whole new trend. The biggest one being do no harm. How's that for starters? How much harm are we doing to our children right now by not taking ownership? You think by sending children to school, I mean, what aided the fact that sending your child to school is going to give them an education system? Because my son is in a situation right now, and I'm not going to be in a position, although he knows my feelings about, he's at an age where he's considering going to university, and of course you have to give them this time, you have to give them space, you have to stay as neutral as possible. All I'm saying is you have an informed choice. You look at this side, you look at that side, and balance it out and see how it tallies. But also listen and look at your lectures and understand the history that's been played. Is certain things repeating?
You just said you have an informed choice, and I'm going to question that, because you may look at what your teachers are telling you in the school.
Yeah.
But would you look at what Lee is telling you outside of school? Are you informed, or are you uniformly choosing? Because there is no choice inside the system, and you're not allowed to consider a informed choice from another perspective, which has been branded by said system as incorrect. So you haven't got an informed choice, and none of us ever did. And the mockery and the scorn that the system shows to those that are trying to give you an informed choice shows you exactly that they don't want you informed. In fact, it's the last thing that they want, and it's what they teach you in there is a lack of information. But you're going to come out with a diploma and a certificate to say, look what I've learned, and I'm going to say to you it's worth nothing, and that next year you will wonder what the hell you went through. But we can look at it from our own experiences, brother. We're at a point now where this stops.
Mm, mm.
You know, I couldn't have said this. We couldn't have said this 4 or 5 years ago. We didn't know. There was no way we would have said this. We would have gone through previous experiences.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
we can't.
even with this thing about, and we don't want to sidetrack too much, but even when you compare the artificial intelligence programs that they have in place, because it takes 18 years to get a child ready for university, where the artificial, what I'm saying is that if there is a technology, I mean, this is the most advanced, the biological computer, but if you were to compare it to, let's say, what is artificial intelligence?
It's again, you got to put it down to what's the intention behind it. What was the base intention to create it?
Anything which is, it can be one or the other. It can be harmful or not harmful. I don't think there is anything in between, is there? I mean, some people might want to diddle and think, well, I'll look this way today, and tomorrow I'll look the other way. But really, be sincere and say, well, it's either black or white, or you want to stay neutral. Being neutral means
I love binary.
Balancing things out. So we need to balance things out. Because
you don't need to balance things out if you're binary. Because there's when we say neutral, this is another thing that I've been like, I should explain a little bit more. I work on neutral, always positive. So I'm always on the white, not the black, but I sit neutrally. Because I don't want to. I can consider both sides from a neutral position, but I always see the positive.
But the fact that you know why is because maybe you've experienced black, so you could put it into that context as well. The fact that I'm aware that it's like the stars at night. The fact that I can see it is because it's embedded in darkness. So that's how you can see it glitter, kind of thing, you know. So it's like bringing it into. I think it's some kind of. I don't even want to say new order. My take is that truth is not static, and truth is forever expanding. It's like if you try to, what is perfection? Perfection, personally, myself, has no destination. Because most people they need to define. It's their survive. I get that. What I did for a long time. We need to define what love is, otherwise I can't live with myself.
Well, this is one of the good things that people should. Again, I will say yes. You do need to define, and then redefine, and redefine, and redefine, and redefine until you can no longer define.
Absolutely. Yeah, because it's evolution.
Well, it's what it is. It's conscious for me. Again, yeah, you can call it what you will, brother. I wouldn't argue with you, but it's conscious overwriting of the subconscious. And again, I'm talking about my own reflection. So others may see it differently, and that's cool. I call it reconciliation, replacement of one energy with another, one truth with another, constantly rising, constantly rising, constantly rising. Redefine, redefine, redefine until you can't anymore. And then you don't need to question. And I call that, it can be no other way. So once you get to it can be no other way, then you don't need to redefine it. And there's your truth. Now, what you'll find is that there's very few things you can get to it can be no other way. So you're constantly questioning and redefining until you've got only sort of one or two truths within you. And that's all you need. All the rest of it is loose, abstract perspective and speculation and all of these different things that are beautiful but matter not. Now you've developed your own truth, which may only be one thing, and that's all it needs to be.
Yeah.
So what is love if it's not
so
truth?
Is there a lot of truth in the Bible? Because there's maybe
define truth.
What's truth mean? Thou shalt not kill, for example.
We know that. Do no harm.
Do no harm.
But that's in here. Doesn't need to be in the Bible. It's inside your own truth that you've defined. Your love already covers that. Already encompasses.
Is it important to say that you have to be conscious of what you put into your vessel as well? I guess, right? Because if you're putting certain types of fuel, then obviously it will create more distortion because everything is energy. So the cleaner you put energy until you get to this. Because I know one or two breatharians out there, but I'm not saying we should all become breatharians overnight. We can't. It's like you know, we need to we need to crawl before we walk, and before we run, before we fly. If you do it, you know, you could injure yourself. I guess it's an illusion.
Again, I
Do it
disagree.
like this. There's no limitation.
Yeah, I mean, again, we can say I kind of disagree with that. You need to do this
No,
before you can do that.
because time is speeding up. Maybe things that took us eternity before, we could do it in an instant now. We can just
if you believe that, you know, again, if we keep putting out that this takes a lot of effort and a lot of time and a lot of work and all of these things, then guess what? That's what we're creating, and that's not what I believe. That's not what I know, actually. That's not how things operate. When you are more in your own truth, in your own love, if you will. Again, this is all of these are culmination points, brother. What you're talking to is culmination points of choices, experiences, choices, and they become culmination points. They become events. So at each event, then you realize and move into the next, and then you get your choice again. And each time you rise, you define, redefine, reconcile, recognize, change the cogs, change the mental state, change how things are working within you. And that is a different choice, which brings out a new set of events, which opens up a new way of thinking, which opens up another choice. So all of these are culmination points. And to say you've got to do this before you do that is kind of true. But there's no time on it. You can jump these, and there's not sequential either. There's no the events that happen and the ways that you do this are not one follows the other. You know, many can do certain things when they're 20 that others don't do till they're 40. Again, it's all, when you see it, it doesn't matter how we do them. It's the process of doing them.
Yeah, it's the way the energy is flowing through us. Because I feel now, reference to what we spoke earlier in our, well, without too much disruption, because we were coming on. We were talking about the planet as a whole, because the energetic situation with the planet is the frequencies are getting, it's expanding, right? There's an expansion going on. So
or there's a contraction going on. It depends on how you look at it. Now, do the other dimensions exist outside of this one? Or are they bigger? Does it expand into them, or do they
fall into it?
I don't
know, brother. I honestly, I'm not sure. Is it okay to not know? Yeah, I suppose it is.
So in the concept of what I do and the way I speak to ones is, I simply ask, you know, if you're going to say we're expanding, then when you look at a lot of these things, what does that mean? Is that your truth, or is that just something you're throwing out there? So, for instance, let's look at capacity. Let's look at light capacity. Let's look at energy within light. And let's look at the spatial footprint it carries. The more expanded it is, the less capacity it has. The less it carries. The smaller it is, the higher the energy, the more capacity. Now, so we can go expanded in less, or small and more. Gamma rays, X-rays, ultraviolet, you look at the different frequencies, the capacities, the size, the spatial footprint that they contain. The smaller, the higher the capacity. Where's the center point of a body, the solar plexus? Where's the core? What's the center point of a magnet? Is it the large bit on the outside, or is it the smaller? As you get more power in a magnet, does it get bigger, the magnetic field, or smaller? Contains more capacity. So again, I'm not going to, you know, we can talk about different things, but we've got to be a little bit expanding into. I don't know. Could be. I'm not going to say you're wrong, but I just see it slightly differently.
Yeah.
Again, please, it's again, I'm not trying to cause undue debate, brother. Expanding just doesn't. It doesn't feel right. Doesn't resonate with me, that word. It's more concentrate. That's a good way. So rather than diluting and making more, we're concentrating and making more. That's a good one. Another one. So with dilution, I get more. No, with concentration, you get so much more.
Yeah.
But again, I can't remember where we were going. It'd be so much easier if this was a clean connection and we could actually talk rather than it be bitty.
Yeah. Robert, we've passed the hour and a half mark now. I'm just thinking how because time is flying when we're having fun. But what I'm saying is that you want to should we bring it slowly but surely to a close?
Yeah. Do that. Oh, you were talking to toxifying the body, weren't you? You were talking about the vessel.
Yeah. Because I mean, you want to speak, because for me personally, I can only say from my perspective what's happened since I've been in touch with yourselves, reference to this, or how do we define, because again, I don't want to go into the survival mode attitude towards trying to define things, because when I look at GPMS, what is it? Is it a tool? Is it a tool that we use to help navigate humanity? Is it a bridge to take us to a much higher level of existence where we all work together as authentic brothers and sisters, where there are no winners and there are no losers? Am I on the right frequency?
Brother, it's beautiful. Why not call him all of those things? Why not a tool, a bridge, an instrument?
Building on that. Keep on building on that, because that is when we talk about firm foundation, when we talk about gratitude, when we talk, because I must confess, as always, the fact that, I always knew about the word, because words have limitations, but they also carry a frequency. Because how can you differentiate? If I said to you, brother Lee, I love you, how do you know it's true?
Yeah, but you can define that frequency. We can feel that when we open up and balance ourselves. So
maybe an observer, that these two people are just talking right now, and we're just throwing things. But if somebody wanted to authentify, is there a brotherhood between Lee and myself? What credential do we need? Do we need to validate our love to anybody? Is it important to validate that there is a love between Baret and Lee, to create a buffer zone or a comfort zone for people? Well, do you think it's important to have role models, brother, on the planet? Do you think mentorship? Do you think leader? When we talk about divine leadership, do you think that is part of the phase 1 and 2? Let's say GPMS is going through 10 stages of evolution. Do you think the first 2-3 stages require some kind of divine leadership or mentorship to begin with? Certain places that have to be.
I think that's inevitable.
Yeah. Okay. Do you think that some people will be uncomfortable with that, because if they might say, "Well, here you guys are talking about, being of the other. Why do you need leadership?" It's not really, because again, words create that stigma, doesn't it? Because of what used to be. Leadership for me isn't telling people what to do, but being the noble walking example primarily.
Yes.
But people have to take time out. It's no good saying Baret is a good person or a bad person where you don't have the time to listen to him for 5 minutes. So people got to put some effort into this, right?
The thing is with a lot of this, Baret, is that people will see whatever it is that they need to see from their own perspective to justify or satisfy what it is that they are feeling in that moment.
But it's said most people are angry right now.
Well, that's what then they will see from that anger what they wish to see, and it doesn't matter what the truth is to them. They will create their own. It's an overlay to justify their anger. What people do, think, say, and consider from their own perspective is none of my concern, and it's none of yours. We can just simply speak from our truth. I love you too, brother. Now you know that is. We don't need to justify this, and I don't need to prove to anything external to me what or who I am, and nor shall I. It's up to others to recognize what it is that they see and choose themselves. And as they release their own anger and fear, then they will see things differently to what they experienced before. Even though it's the same thing they may have seen before, they won't see it in the same way. Their perspective is nothing to do with me, nothing to do with me, because it can change dependent on their own emotional state. And that's down to them ultimately to balance. So we can only be virtuous to ourselves. The I that is speaking with you will always offer you, or not even offer, will always be its highest truth, and that is love. It can be no other way.
And to do it from an unconditional practice.
There's what can you give me I haven't already got, brother? I'm infinite, divine, and eternal. What can you give me back that I need to receive from you? When you're in the service to others phase, you've already, there's nothing you need from another.
Without sidetracking, because we've got some important public figures out there here, and that did a marvelous job, and he continues to do it. And I was referring to a man called David Icke, for example, and I met him for the first time in 2012 at the Wembley Conference Centre, and he did his launch as well, and his book did pretty well. It says, "Remember who you are." But he put a lot of information out there, reference to the moon, and he was saying things like it's a receiver, and basically it's a satellite where it's getting its information from the Saturn. But for me, it's all like blah 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 blah. To be honest, it sounds like, yeah, it could be true, it might not be true. But some people look at, now I know what you can look at the moon and say it's good. Some people may look at the moon and say it's not so good. Is it important to question the moon, for example? Is it important to question, is the moon having a good influence on the planet or not?
It's important to question. Sorry, brother, you're breaking up a lot. I heard a bit about David Icke, something about the moon.
Yeah, he put a lot of information out there a little while back where he was saying about the moon being like a receiver, because it does influence the planet, as you know.
It doesn't influence the planet. This is, again, what I would ask people to do is actually question what it is they're questioning. There's a thing called Sephoric logic, or Sephoricism. I think it's Sophorism, actually, where I could call the moon a slice of cheese, and it's got an impact upon the sun, and it's going to melt. What does it matter what I'm saying? Again, questioning things is important. Now, you can only question what you're going to get an answer to. And of course, if you're going to listen to others that say it's satellite and it's beaming off the rings of Saturn, and it's a black cube of Saturn, okay, fair enough. Create your story. Go and look in Ascension Glossary and find it out for yourself.
Energize that, brother. Is that true? What we're saying is that if somebody makes a statement and we believe in that, we will make a statement. But I'm going somewhere very powerful with this, you see, brother, because recently a lot of people are putting information, rightly or wrongly, good luck to everyone. They're putting information in reference to the banks now going, it's collapsing.
Yep.
And then some people are saying, go and draw your money out. Reference to the cash. What will the cash do? So let's say you got money, and and how long will it last? It's up to you, I guess. It's how you're going to energize the whole thing. It's your observation viewpoint. Is it good for the banks to go down? You see, there's two arguments.
Before we continue, I'm going to ask a bigger question. How many people have got money to take out of the 6 billion humans with 85% in abstract poverty? Those ones that are going to take money out of the bank are the minority.
The people who are the manipulators have got probably a lot of money, and that's why they're so attached to it. That's why there's fear.
That's why there's fear, because they're scared of losing it. But everybody else hasn't got any. The only thing people can be scared of really is that they can't buy this, that, and the other, but they can't buy it anyway because the same controllers of the manipulation have raised the cost of everything kind of affordable. So who's got money? Who does the banks going down impact? the population. The only way they impact the population is the fear that's propaganda that's come through the television and the radios.
Well,
Really?
yeah, but the thing is, let's say you've got a medical condition and you're relying, it's called dependent. You're dependent on maybe your.
Let's say that, but the exemption doesn't break the rule. 85% of 6 billion are in abstract poverty. Let's say, no. Let's not say.
That is so powerful. I mean, I find that to palate, to be very, very honest with you, what you just said, because I'm not saying it's not true, by the way. It resonates with me. And I heard that once before, like things like 80% of the world's population don't have clean drinking water or something like that.
Yeah. You know, and again, we can tell sob stories about parts of this, or we can actually see it as a whole.
Yeah,
I've got a Canadian freedom group that's literally taking really, really demeaning, mocking, and scorning one of my beautiful divine sisters who's a warrior. This is a freedom group that's only interested in itself inside Canada. It's not concerned about the 1.4 billion Africans or Indians that have got nothing. No. They're worried about Trudeau, and they're worried about what's going on up there, and they must do this, and everybody that's not involved in that is not following them and is not uniting. I'll tell you what, guys. Have a look around and open your eyes up to the bigger picture. Yes, we can make exemptions. Well, look at this. They're not being able to open that school over there, and that's ridiculous. There's no schools in Africa. I was just round in Thailand, where they're going to shut down a little infant school that caters to 110 children that they pay $2,500 a year to teach, and they want to shut it down because its administration is going to cost too much. I tell you what, when we start to open this up and really see what's going on around the world and really count the numbers of people, not who's on your doorstep in what part of the country you are, whether these banks collapse or not. How many Africans have got bank accounts? They haven't even got the internet. Indians the same. And yet we're concerned about it collapsing as if it's going to impact the humanity. No, I'll tell you what's going to impact humanity is these ones that have been impoverished and lost their value and are worthless and have been working so hard but have kept themselves in their heart and not fallen into the materialistic Western approach of things, not indoctrinated in schools for years. When this lot stands up and shows everybody else what dignity and virtue means, then we'll see a change. Until then, we can argue and dismiss and demean and mock and scorn and create division where there is none. Or we can see the commonality of this, and we can recognize the soul and the value that's within each, the equality. What's happened makes no difference. It's what's going to happen that matters. And that's where we are right now. And we can't get a table to sit down and talk about frigging globe without somebody coming up with flat Earth, globe heads issues. We can't even sit down and bypass the fact whether or not we live on a flat plane or a globe. We can't even do that without others mocking and scorning, and we think we've got solutions. It really is about time people took a good look at what it is they're thinking and start to feel a little bit more.
Yeah.
But, you know, again, I'm passionate about this, you know, and that just comes out a little bit. And I talk to many.
Yeah.
But it's truth. This is what we are experiencing, trying to get two people to sit down and talk to each other and find a common ground without finding fault or something in the other is almost impossible, it seems. Divinely, it isn't. But in walking that walk, I'm not surprised my brothers and sisters are out there, silent, in solitude, not knowing who or what to talk to, because there is just disharmony. And we are harmonizing this whole plane. This whole balance.
Thank you, my lovely brother. Is it fair to say that there was a technology, whether you call it heart mark, whatever names you've got out there, that they were using it? Technology could be a good thing if it's used correctly, but if it was not divinely orchestrated, then obviously it was hurting people. They were dumbing down people.
Let's define technology.
Yeah.
What does it mean? It means technical knowledge.
Yes.
That's it. That's technical knowledge. Now, I will ask somebody, if they are able to transmute energy and they can take in pain and they can release it into a loving aspect, is that because they have garnered a technical knowledge of how to do that? Has technology, has it got to be technical? Has it got to be that, or can it be biological? Can you have biological technology? Can you learn to use something within yourself and gain knowledge of that technique? Could it be technique knowledge, technology? Again, why do we have to create something as if it's a negative when we got obvious signs of a biorhythmic environment, universal phase, again, around us? The way the molecular builds itself is that biological technique knowledge, technical knowledge that's ongoing all around us all of the time. There's nothing to be fearful about technology. It's how it was used. And again, if we can in the word, then we take the fear out of it.
Mm.
Intention. Everything is intention. Everything is from the purity of the intended. Everything that we put out there is based on intention. If we're in fear of something, how can we? We're divine and infinite. What we created it. What fear is there to be in? We must rise above this. If we're in separation, we must unite. These things will happen. It's physics. It's divine physics. It's inevitable. And the longer that we continue going through this process of it not happening, the more it's going to happen. The banks collapsing is just another fear provocation. Brexit, another thing that's being thrown around, is another solution. Of course, they're all solutions. Nobody's choosing. The wars that are ongoing, the truth that's coming out of America, Biden this and Trump that. And you know what? Okay, the UK government's going to do this, and the taxes are rising, and inflation, and everyone's got to be this. Everybody's got to get this, and CBDC is going to be coming in for your benefit without you choosing any of it. At what point did you give away your authority to another? What point did you lose your sovereignty? What point did you become valueless to yourself, guys? This is what we're garnering back. And if you follow others that carry themselves with value, good.
The knowing is so powerful, isn't it? I mean, I tell you what's working for me, the fact that you're conscious. You don't have to prove it to anyone because you're walking it. And I'll give you an example. I was talking to a so-called expert about how to destroy your fictional character, which we've all been born into some kind of indoctrination system. And it's quite a painful, expensive process to go down. You know what I said? That person doesn't want to talk to me anymore, because I said, well, the fact that you're away, shouldn't that be enough? Do you have to go into some kind of bureaucratic? Yeah, are you going to say something?
It's frightening how many try to become sovereign, which basically means above authority and running on your own moral authority. And sovereign, there's nothing outside of you that can give you sovereignty. It's frightening kind of how many are still in that level of you must do this and you must do that to authorize your sovereign. No, as soon as you write a letter or anything to another to say, can you tell me I'm sovereign or remove me from that, then by definition you are not. There is nothing can give you that except you. So these that are offering to do this and do that and give you a bit of paper, ask yourself, really what? The ones that took your sovereignty away from you are now you're asking them to give it back, when by definition it was always yours.
Well, the whole idea is to put you into another box.
Of course it is. And there's many in that box. There's many still there, and we speak to divine natural law, and the ones in this box have learned common law is the way forward. So now they're defending common law as if that's their belief. They hadn't even heard of it before about a couple of years, and now they're all about common law. Well, what's divine law? Well, it's next. It's the one that's higher than that. Well, what does it mean? Well, it means do no harm. Well, we need more than that. Okay. Whatever you think, boys, crack on. See you later. Because there's no informing anybody. You don't need more than that. You go around your mother's house, you know how to behave. You go around your girlfriend's house, you know how to behave. You go anywhere, you know how to behave. Yeah, but what about all the others and all the criminals? Fear. simply fear. You're going to blame them for not doing what you need to do. And okay, listen, we're a little bit tired of hearing the same excuses.
What about, because sorry to come back to this particular individual,
It's okay.
David Icke, exactly, another, because he said he spoke quite passionately about non-compliance, because I'm still guilty of a few. I don't want to use the word guilt, get rid of that one. But what I'm saying, I still go to the supermarket. But and the thing is, if you want,
brother, your voice, I don't know if it's coming through to everybody else, but your voice is very breaking. It's like really, like the microphone's muffled. Where's the mic?
Can you hear me better? It's not good.
It's like,
How about,
I don't know.
How about now? Is it better?
I'm just comments. I don't know. There's nothing. No, I can't see anything. People have probably given up. It's been a long time.
I think they've had enough. The breakdown.
David. I mean, I love David Icke, and I didn't really hear all he was saying. Non-compliance is part and parcel of this. There's a level of society that's morbidly compliant, and there always will be until the amount of numbers makes it safe for them to become less compliant.
It does.
It's already happened.
Yeah, but you see, the thing is, if they've got all these so-called technologies, right, they make people behave certain way. Maybe, I don't know.
They've got nothing.
They got nothing. I'm glad that you're saying that, because some people were under the impression that they did have technologies.
They did have, and all the toys that they had that they were using, they no longer have. They don't have anything except fear, and that's fake. It's fictional. It's only in the eye of the beholder. There is nothing to fear except fear itself. There is danger, but that's common sense, and there's fear, which is fake. They've got nothing. There's very few of them, and as soon as the people realize,
did they have some kind of power over us? Were they using some technology?
Yes.
Okay. So that was real. Okay.
Yes, and it is real still. To a certain degree, there is still a negative element that is now being released from this, which is still got. You've got to bear in mind a lot of the creations that we're utilizing right now were built with a negative intention behind them, a nefarious intention at their concept. That needs to be rectified. So a lot of the equipment that we're still using has a negative base value to it. And of course, if the individual hasn't balanced their own energetic field, then they will take negativity from it. So the tools that they were using are still effective to those that can receive it. So there's still this, tit for tat ripple effect that's ongoing right now in the ones that are still consciously in that environment, because that's what their soul contract chose to do. Not blaming anybody. There's no blame here. It's just fact. So we can still see the negative impact on others because there is still a negative, or was still a negative intention behind the equipment that can be rectified.
Yeah, no, it's exciting times.
It's massively exciting, brother. It's hugely exciting. It's just a bit tedious.
It references synchronicity and how the collective operate. When you've got enough numbers, like what sort of percentage are we talking about? Like 3-5%?
0.002% changed the paradigm in Thailand. 0.002.
Wow.
It's a lot less than people are led to believe, and people enjoy finding things to dissuade them from doing something because it makes it easier to be dissuaded. And again, I'm not blaming anybody, but a lot of the truths that people hold are not true. They're a belief, and they'll be let go of.
Do you feel that now with these new energies, do you feel, or I'm feeling it, that if your intention is not of the highest, you would just not be able to operate. You'd be so sluggish to move.
It depends on the level of the consciousness of the individual, how much the energetics will impact them. And of course, that's regulated on a soul level. So yeah, if you're a higher frequency one, if you've done a lot of the work, or your role is to be that, and then you falter, let's say, then your energetics are going to be impacted a lot harsher than maybe somebody who's got a different role at this time. Again, I'm just trying to put it into context for everybody. The frequencies that come in will be dependent upon the individual, and what they receive will be relative to their role or their place. So yes, there are days when it's extremely tough, but also there's also days when we're utilized, and I certainly recognize this as a transmuter of the energy around, and that could be of a country. So the physical vessel are utilized for a period of time to release that energy from a fear-based narrative that just needs a blow-off valve. And again, that can cause a temporary slowdown of the individual whilst this is ongoing within them, because they can and they're able to. There's a lot of beautiful souls out there, so many divine brothers and sisters that are doing so much to enable this.
Can I just share what I'm using as that's working really well for me, and it's what I bring to the table, is harmonizing. Because everyone's got a story to tell, and just listening to it, and then just making them at ease, and then just giving them something not to see, for it's not what I'm creating, it's what we're creating. That's so important, because it's not egocentric.
Love you, brother. Thank you so much for being that confident.
On that note, and shall we say, if anyone's ever interested to join us again, reference to, if we do, and I'm sure we will, a part 3, do we continue with this hot topic of do we do another discussion, or something that we can talk about at some point?
See what, brother, I mean, we haven't spoken we haven't spoken for a while, and I know you wanted to catch up. By the way, if you didn't catch that, I love you for what you do, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For that, we do things differently in our own different ways, and I love that others do things that I don't do. Or their role is for that, a time for this and a time for that. So thank you so much. And yeah, we can continue with whatever, again, I'm happy to speak to so many different things. We're not really digging in too much. We're covering quite a broad array, and that's cool. That's cool. We'll see what people, if they want some questions, if there is questions, we can raise them and answer them, or
we can we can do a Q&A as well, and we can add.
We're 2 hours in now without a theme today, so it's very easy to speak about a wide array, and we can dig into certain more topics as they become more apparent or relevant to ones, should you wish. And I know that what I speak to won't be available to all, because it's not for all to know. So we'll see. It's not for all to know yet anyway, their level of consciousness, and that's fine. A lot of people don't need to know the ins and outs of what's going on, because their soul hasn't chosen that. They've chosen to know certain other things, and that's cool. So there is this, putting in the information for the levels, for those that need to hear, should you wish. And we'll continue. I'm more than happy to, as long as people don't mind me rambling.
Oh, you're not rambling at all, brother. Well, for the viewers to say as well. But thank you very much, Lee. And
always a pleasure.
Yeah, and we'll reach out at some point and reconnect.
Yeah, we'll catch up soon, I'm sure, my friend. Again, things have been a bit strange, and they may be for another week. But all I say to people is keep an eye open, or keep a heart open to the environment that you're in and what you're receiving over the time. Thank you so much.
Much love, brother. Much love. Just press the end.